Welcome to US Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: You are not a horse. Why conservatives and industries are challenging FDA power in court. From the prison house to the White House, Alice Marie Johnson's journey. Despite promises, the new COVID vaccine booster appears harder to find. Here's why. President Joe Biden is naming tech hubs for 32 states, Puerto Rico to help industry create jobs. Japan may lift ban on ride-sharing due to lack of drivers. You are not a horse. Why conservatives and industries are challenging FDA power in court. Yahoo! The world was more than a year into the pandemic when the Food and Drug Administration became alarmed about reports of Americans treating COVID-19 with an antiparasitic drug often used in horses and cows. Eager to head off an untested and potentially dangerous fad treatment, the agency posted a warning on its website noting that the drug, ivermectin, was not approved for COVID-19 and that ingesting doses of the drug frequently given to farm animals had already left multiple people in the hospital. Those warnings are now the subject of a pending lawsuit by 3 doctors who claim the FDA overstepped its authority by weighing in with medical advice they say should be left to physicians. The ivermectin suit is one of several working through federal courts challenging the FDA's power to make decisions or dispense information. Some of those suits, including a challenge to FDA approval of the abortion pill mifepristone, involve a sheen of politics, with conservative groups lining up to challenge the federal government's power. From the prison house to the White House, Alice Marie Johnson's journey. Yahoo! Alice Marie Johnson wore a coat of many colors Monday night as she stood before friends at Aliceville Baptist Church. Johnson was released from a life sentence that she had been serving at Federal Correctional Institution, Aliceville, 5 years ago after then-President Donald Trump granted her clemency. Despite promises, the new COVID vaccine booster appears harder to find. Here's why. Yahoo! Americans eager to get jabbed with the updated COVID-19 vaccine in September were disappointed when they began looking for doses. Some pharmacies weren't posting enough appointments, others didn't have enough vaccines. Most hospitals and clinics hadn't gotten their shipments yet. Patients who had been through the motions with previous rollouts swiftly realized they were going to have a harder time finding shots this time around. President Joe Biden is naming tech hubs for 32 states, Puerto Rico to help industry create jobs. Yahoo! The Biden administration is designating 31 tech hubs touching 32 states and Puerto Rico to help spur innovation and create jobs in the specific industries that are concentrated in these areas. Japan may lift ban on ride-sharing due to lack of drivers. Bloomberg. The Japanese government is considering lifting its ban on ride-sharing, which could potentially allow companies like Uber to expand their services in the country. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida announced that he would consider easing restrictions on ordinary drivers being allowed to transport paying passengers in their own cars. The lack of transportation options in Japan has become a social issue, and looser regulations on ride-sharing could make travel more convenient for inbound travelers and depopulated areas that lack public transportation. However, the Japan Federation of Hire Taxi Associations has criticized ride-sharing as an attempt to evade labor regulations, and has vowed to prevent the lifting of the ban. Some influential members of Kishida's ruling Liberal Democratic Party have expressed support for lifting the ban, citing the labor shortage as a reason to consider ride-sharing. U.S. police rule out anti-Semitism in murder of synagogue head. Al Jazeera. Detroit police have ruled out anti-Semitism as a motive for the murder of synagogue president Samantha Wall. Wall, who was found stabbed multiple times outside her home, was the head of the Isaac Agree downtown Detroit synagogue and was involved in local and state politics. Detroit Police Chief James White stated that there is no evidence to suggest that the crime was motivated by anti-Semitism. The investigation is ongoing with the assistance of the FBI. Wall's death has sparked an outpouring of grief, with many remembering her as a dedicated community member. While there has been an uptick in anti-Semitism in the U.S., no evidence has been found to link Wall's murder to religious or racial motives. Israel strikes across Gaza after allowing another small aid convoy into the besieged enclave. Associated Press. Israeli warplanes continue to strike targets across Gaza, including areas where Palestinian civilians have been told to seek refuge. Israel is expected to launch a ground offensive in Gaza following Hamas attack on southern Israeli communities on October 7. Tanks and troops have been massed at the Gaza border and airstrikes have been increased to reduce the risk to troops in the next stages. There are fears of a widening war as Israeli warplanes have also struck targets in the occupied West Bank, Syria, and Lebanon in recent days. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned Hezbollah that if it launches a war, Israel will cripple it with a force it cannot even imagine. Hezbollah's political movement is part of Lebanon's government, but its fighters operate outside the state's control. More than 1,400 people in Israel have been killed in the conflict, mostly civilians slain during the initial Hamas attack. At least 212 people were captured and taken to Gaza. In Gaza, more than 4,600 people have been killed, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Israel has carried out limited ground forays into Gaza, and on Sunday, Hamas said it destroyed an Israeli tank and 2 armored bulldozers inside the territory. The Israeli military said a soldier was killed and 3 others were wounded by an anti-tank missile during a raid inside Gaza. Ex-president calls Australian billionaire red-haired weirdo as he denies discussing submarines. The Guardian. Australian billionaire Anthony Pratt has been caught up in a scandal involving former US President Donald Trump, with leaked documents and recordings suggesting Pratt paid for access to Trump and other influential figures. Pratt, chairman and owner of paper and packaging giant Vicey Industries, reportedly spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on memberships at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort and boasted of paying Trump's lawyer Rudy Giuliani $1 million to attend his birthday party. Pratt also claimed that Trump told him about an airstrike on Iranian militants in Iraq before it hit the headlines, and that he asked Ukraine's president to investigate Hunter Biden, the son of Joe Biden. The revelations come in a series of reports by Australia's 9 newspapers and 60 Minutes and the New York Times. Pratt has not responded to a request for comment. Trump took to his Truth social media platform to deny the claims, describing them as fake news. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the 6 dimensions. It's always a pleasure to bring you the latest news from around the world. Today, we have quite a diverse range of stories to discuss, so let's jump right in. First up, we have the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, facing legal challenges over its power to make decisions and provide medical advice. It all started when the FDA warned against using the antiparasitic drug, ivermectin, for COVID-19 treatment. 3 doctors are now suing the FDA, claiming that the agency overstepped its authority. This lawsuit is just one of several challenging the FDA's power, with conservative groups also getting involved. Looks like the FDA is facing some real horseplay here. Moving on to a more heartwarming story, we have Alice Marie Johnson, who went from serving a life sentence to standing before friends at a church. Thanks to clemency granted by former President Donald Trump, Johnson was released from prison 5 years ago. It's incredible to see someone's life take such a dramatic turn, from the prison house to the White House, and now to the church house. Now, let's talk about COVID-19 vaccines. Many Americans were eagerly looking for the booster shot in September, only to be disappointed by the lack of availability. It seems that the rollout of the booster shot has hit some roadblocks, with pharmacies struggling to post appointments and hospitals and clinics not receiving enough vaccines. Looks like finding a booster shot is becoming as elusive as finding the perfect parking spot at the mall during the holiday season. In other news, President Joe Biden is designating tech hubs in 32 states and Puerto Rico to spur innovation and create jobs. It seems like the Biden administration is trying to give a technological boost to various industries across the country. I wonder if they'll be installing USB ports in people's brains next. Next, we have Japan possibly lifting its ban on ride-sharing. This could mean companies like Uber expanding their services in the country. The lack of transportation options in Japan has become a social issue, and ride-sharing could be a convenient solution. However, the Japan Federation of Hire Taxi Associations is not too thrilled about it, as they see it as an attempt to evade labor regulations. Looks like the road to ride-sharing in Japan might have a few speed bumps along the way. Turning to a tragic story, the murder of synagogue president Samantha Wall in Detroit has sparked grief and shock. However, the police have ruled out anti-Semitism as a motive for the crime. While it's a relief that this act of violence wasn't driven by hate, it's still a tragic loss for the community. Lastly, we have a scandal involving Australian billionaire Anthony Pratt and former President Donald Trump. Leaked documents and recordings suggest that Pratt paid for access to Trump and other influential figures. Pratt allegedly spent a fortune on memberships at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort and even claimed to have paid Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, $1 million to attend his birthday party. Talk about trying to buy your way into the spotlight. That's all the news we have for you today, folks. Remember, these stories are just the tip of the iceberg, and there's always more to explore and discuss. So, what are your thoughts on these news stories? Do you have any burning questions or wild theories? I'm all ears, so let's hear what you have to say. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.